Very quiet this morning.
There's a kind of hush all over the world. I'm gearing myself up for inauguration later on.
Are you?
Yeah.
As an observer or a participant?
As a very distant observer. Yeah. What a strange country.
Aye.
The thing is, John, it's not a country. It's 50 odd countries.
That's true.
I didn't appreciate that until I visited on a whistle-stop tour with the Air Force in '79, that each state is very different. Different cultures, different laws, all sorts.
Yeah. It's a federation.
And a vast majority of them have never left their own state.
Yeah. It is the United States of America.
Yeah.
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 So you'd be interested in this, Paul.
The other thing that dawned on me, John, was it took us long to fly from RAF Bryce Norton to, was it Gander or Goose in Canada, as it did to fly from Goose or Gander down to Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah? Just
Right,
the scale of it.
we might all be here.
No, we're
I
not.
don't know if I've told.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know if I've told you this story before, but I was working in Rockford in Illinois, and it was autumn time, and for some reason we got talking about fireworks, and I said, "Oh, I'll miss our display of fireworks." So this girl said to me, "Well, don't you have them on the 4th of July?" No, why should we have them? Well, it's Independence Day. And I said, who did you get independence from? She said, oh, I don't know. We just got independence. I said, you got independence from Britain. Why are we going to celebrate? She had no idea.
No.
And
No,
that,
it's just a holiday.
that is the state of the nation, Ron.
It is.
If you ask the Americans when did the First World War start, they'll say 1917.
17, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you ask them when did
1942 for the...
Second World War started in 1942.
41.
No idea it was happening before that.
December 41.
Yeah.
It was actually 41, wasn't it? Yeah.
But they didn't start bringing troops over to Blighty until 42.
That's right, yeah.
God, they did.
But there you go.
Right.
But you're talking about them being a little bit isolationist. When I lived in the Buxton area, Chapel on the Frith, to be honest,
Funny and Dave.
the next village was Whaley Bridge. Now, you may remember that place from the floods about a year or two back. There are people in Whaley. There's a guy I used to meet in the pub who retired, but he used to be a coach driver. He used to say, there are people in Whaley Bridge that had never been out of Whaley Bridge, except when I took them on a trip to Stockport.
I used to work at Dinnington. There were some people in Dinnington who'd never been to Rotherham.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah,
But you've got to ask, why would they want to?
Yeah,
You beat me to it, John. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
if they
he's
hadn't
out to
committed,
go to Sheffield.
yeah, if they hadn't committed any crimes, why would they go to Rotherham?
I'll have you know my partner's from Rotherham. And I agree with you.
I mean, when
I
I
gather
went-
Jenny's not in today.
Oh, the door's shut.
After beer shots.
Well, can I just start off by saying it was very remiss of me last week not to ask how Jenny's getting on, given that her mum passed away. So, how is Jenny getting on, John?
She's still feeling rough. She's getting there. The funeral's next Wednesday. There's such a lot to do in physically in terms of clearing the flat out. It's amazing how much your mum accumulated. And then practically in terms of sorting out the estate. So There's a lot to do, but she's getting there slowly. Obviously, still upset, but
Yeah.
she's not too bad.
Give her our love.
Will do.
Yeah.
John, if you
Yeah.
need with the clearing the house and that, let me know.
We're nearly there, thanks, Keith. With I actually took in all on 3 visits last week 36 black sacks down to the large rubbish bins outside the complex where she lives, plus
Right.
about 6 or 7 other shopping bags full of stuff. It's amazing.
I hope you
Absolutely
check
amazing.
those bags, John, because when we had to do the same job for what we irreverently called the 3 Bumbles, that was my nana and the 2 live-in aunties, Auntie Gladys and Auntie Marjorie. I don't think Auntie Marjorie is a proper Marjorie. She was one of those World War II aunties, you know. She lent us a bottle of Coke or something, you know.
Yeah.
But each time they popped their clogs, my elder sister went in with my mum to sort it out, and they found these hoards of silver. You know, they kept things under their bed, in their wardrobe, what have you.
Yeah.
Right, gents, just to explain about today, the second half of the meeting, I'm going to set it going and then pass you over to Ian to control, seeing as he will be doing the recording, because I've got to take Sue's dad to have his injection. So that's at 12 o'clock.
Don't miss that, Keith.
No, we won't. Soon as we set the meeting going, he only lives around the corner, so it's not, it's not a problem.
Give him my regards, Keith, please.
I will. And while we're talking about Sue's dad, I was going to do a piece about him today in the second half, but if you don't mind, I'll do it in the first half, and then I can leave you to Lol's news and whatever else we've got later on. It'll only take about 10 minutes. Would you like to hear that, his story?
Yeah. Very much. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what I'm actually going to do is, if you'll, in the top right-hand corner, it says view. So if you go to speaker view, and then I'm going to share my screen with you. So sorry about that.
Speak of you.
But it should just be showing.
I didn't realise they'd done a remake of The Blob.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say this, but my 2 dogs, whenever they hear your voice, they come up to the laptop. That's why I was showing them to you. There's Lewis. He can't believe your voice.
Are you okay?
Are they lap dogs?
Has everybody managed to do that?
Yep.
Yep.
No,
Look at that, my phone's going.
I don't appear to have
Leave
it.
the fish, 2 seconds.
Yes.
Oh, Dave.
Yes, screen.
Yes, fine. I sent it Saturday. Right, the only. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it. All right. See you. Bye. Bye.
He's lost it.
Dave the fish has. He can't find the link, so I'm just going to resend it to him. Before we get cracking. So just.
Busy doing nothing, working the whole day through, trying to find lots of things not to do. I'm busy going.
What was it,
nowhere,
Keith,
isn't
we were
it just a
supposed to be looking
crime?
for?
John,
Yeah.
think. John,
Yeah.
while you're singing, when I took the dogs to walk, for a walk, I met 2 couples, because the dogs attract conversation. And
Yeah.
this couple run a mobile opera service. Yeah, because they can't get into theatres and what have you. They've set up mobile opera. They actually know a couple of the inmates here.
Yeah.
And we got talking, as you do, and I talked about this Zoom meeting. They've said they'll come onto the Zoom meeting if you like,
Brilliant.
and you
Brilliant.
can sing with them.
Oh, I don't know
Now,
about
we'll have to let Paul know when it is.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Can't we get somebody to go down to his house and strap him down to his chair?
I can't get this.
You got to catch me first.
Well, that's true.
How are you doing on your?
What is
pentathlon
it I'm
for running
supposed to be
triathlon?
doing, Keith? Because I don't seem to have what you're suggesting.
It's in the top right-hand corner, and it says, if you touch your screen, it says view. And
We'd like to be
you click
unhappy,
on
but
Zoom.
we never do have the time.
It will say either speaker view or gallery view.
He may already be in speaker view.
Oh,
If
I've
you've
got
only-
gallery view. I'm on
Right, well-
gallery view.
if you
Yeah.
click that toggle between that gallery view, you'll get speaker view. Click speaker view, and you should get
Right.
whoever's speaking.
Yeah.
See.
Right.
Right, you're sorted.
Works.
If I can get this symbol to come up again.
You were
Is it
already-
half time yet?
They all seem to dis-
You're already in speaker view, I think.
No, I'm not. I'm on gallery view here.
Oh, you'll still be able to hear him.
Yeah, you'll still hear it. You'll
That's
just
it.
not see the full thing. Right.
There.
I've got it anyway. Well, no, it's gone back.
So Dave,
Come on, Keith.
Dave the fish will join us at some point. I've resent him the thing. So I'm now going to share my screen with you so that you can see. Oh, he's here, look. Right. Well, I'll just explain to Dave. Here he comes. Susan.
10:42.
Sorry about this.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. There's
Just
only
go for
one
a
thing
walk.
that's never been passed, and that was Brexit.
Right. He seems to be struggling to get on, does Dave. But if you can hear me, I'm now going to share the screen. So I'm going to try and share the screen. So here we go. Right.
I'll talk. Your screen
Got
is
it.
shared. Your screen is shared, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about George Locke. That's Sue's dad, a Blades fan that might have been a Spurs legend.
Legend.
Legend, yeah. And that's a picture of him. So
He just scored against you on Saturday.
he probably would have done. He would have done because we played on Sunday.
Well, there you are then.
We
Doesn't make
didn't.
any difference to me. You look the same whether you're there or not.
I don't think you did play. I don't think you did play Sunday.
We
No,
turned
no,
Turned up.
We're hopeless.
Yeah.
So
Gone.
one man with a special interest in United's match against Spurs is 95-year-old George Locke, as he supports both teams, and had fate not handed him a cruel blow, he might even have become a Spurs legend. George Robert Locke was born in the London Hospital at Whitechapel in December 1925. That's inside the, that's outside and inside. And he grew up in Hackney. His mother died soon after. That's Hackney Marshes, where there's
Hackney Marshes.
football pitches. Soon after George was born, and with his father having to work to provide for them, he was brought up by his grandparents. His dad was a Spurs supporter and made sure that George would be the same, and he took a 6-year-old George to his first game on Christmas Day 1931, a home game against Charlton Athletic in Division 2. And that's a programme from around about that time. That game ended in a 1-0 defeat for Spurs, but his dad took him to the return game the following day at the.
That's child abuse.
What? Two matches in 2 days, Keith? God, they must have killed them.
Oh yes, aye. So
On
that's
perfect pitches with a light ball.
Yeah.
so that's the Valley. Spurs, with the help of a hat trick by centre forward George Hunt, had an emphatic 5-2 victory. And that's George on the right. And there he is heading a goal.
Hooray!
Whoa, that's a good shot.
Haven't seen many of them recently.
Now, life in pre-war London was hard for young
You can only
George.
get so many dodgy penalties.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh no. That's why VAR's there.
and does it work?
No, it worked perfectly. Carry on.
Life in pre-war London was hard for young George, but one thing he quickly displayed was his talent for playing football. And when playing for his Scawfell Street School, that's the school there, as an outside right winger for you youngsters, in 1987, a Spurs scout noticed his talents and George was invited to join Spurs on schoolboy terms. Also invited at the same time was his schoolmate, Eddie Gibbons, who went on to make 1 league and 3 FA Cup appearances for Spurs at centre-half in 1953. Another youngster that started training with Spurs at the same time was Eddie Bailey, who went on to play almost 300 games for Spurs. Bailey also played for England in the 1950 World Cup in Brazil, and there's the full squad. And that's the famous goal, infamous goal by USA against England. And Eddie Bailey went on to become Bill Nicholson's legendary assistant manager at Spurs. George may well have gone on to have a similar career, but World War II and fate was to intervene. George had trained with Spurs for 2 years, but when war broke out in 1939, football stopped and Spurs, along with all clubs, told their schoolboys to go home. After leaving school, George started work as a post office messenger, delivering telegrams until aged just 18. Like many men, he joined the wartime army to risk his life for his country.
Good picture.
The guardsman then, was he? Grenadier Guards.
Grenadier Guards, yeah. And that's him with the arrow over his head, and that's him there.
Where's the Indian?
Little did he know, though, his time in the army would less than a year, and any chance of a football career would be over. After basic training in Caterham and Windsor, George, now a member of the 1st Battalion of the Grenadier Guards, was sent to France. Little more than a month later, George took part in Operation Market Garden, immortalised by the film A Bridge Too Far.
Apparently Market was the air operation and Garden was the ground operation.
Yeah.
During the fighting, he was among a company of soldiers pinned down by enemy fire just outside the Dutch town of Nijmegen. George...
My dad was.
Yeah.
They took it, but they had to withdraw.
Yeah. And George was badly wounded in his back, shoulder and hand. Left for dead by the Germans, he was later found by British troops and taken to a field hospital where his chances were rated so slim that he was left on a stretcher while the doctors tended to others they thought had a better chance of survival. Some hours later, doctors returned to George, who was still clinging to life, so they thought, well, we'd better give him a go. And that's a typical scene from the time in the field hospitals.
Is that MASH?
Watched it last night, George. First time.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
He was flown back to Brize Norton before being transferred by train to Sheffield, a city he had visited and where he knew no one. After arrival at Midland Station, he was taken to the Royal Infirmary, where he spent Christmas 1944.
Just when you think things can't get any worse, he takes you to Sheffield.
Yeah. In the next bed to George was another wounded soldier named Harry, who had an aunt in Sheffield that came to visit him regularly. The lady noticed that George didn't have any visitors, so even after Harry was discharged from hospital, she continued to visit George. And obviously,
It's amazing that you've got these pictures in colour from the time, Keith. It's brilliant. Brilliant research.
I know. When George was eventually allowed out for a short time, he went to visit the lady, and she met him at the bus stop with two girls. One of them was Doris, who went on to become his regular girlfriend and eventually his wife. Excuse me, sorry. After his discharge from the forces, George returned to work for the post office and continued making regular visits to Sheffield to see Doris. He eventually transferred up to Sheffield on the 1st of January 1947. And that's the old post office in Fitzisland Square.
Yeah.
Even one of the worst winters on record didn't put him off. So that was winter 1947. Looks horrendous. So he married Doris, and at first they lived with relatives at Arbourthorne, that's the Arbourthorne Hotel, and then at Shire Green, and that's the corner of Society Avenue, where their first daughter Susan, my missus. They eventually received a council house on the new Hankthorpe estate and had two more children, Tony and Anne. Work in Sheffield wasn't easy for George as there was no public transport to Hankthorpe at first. So to get to work at the post office on time, he had to get up at 4 a.m. before walking 2 miles in all weathers just to catch the nearest bus at Intake. And we all remember the bus stop at Intake.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that one on the left, that's after they knocked down a bit of a building that was there.
yeah. Yeah.
Sweet shop and whatever else.
Rex Cinema, yeah.
Just yeah, Rex Cinemas there.
Noah's Ark.
Yeah. It at least improved his fitness when one of George's colleagues at the post office, Bill Hukin, who I went on to later play tennis with as it happens, asked him if he'd like to play for the post office football team. At first, George was unsure if he would be able to, given his injuries, but he gave it a go and soon became a regular in the Thursday afternoon league. He was later asked to play for a new Saturday team being formed, Burley Amateurs. And when he arrived to see who formed it,
Derek
it was
Dooley.
none other than Derek Dooley.
I played for them, Keith.
Did you?
Yeah.
Fancy that.
Wow. So
Small world.
yeah. How old are you, Dave?
77.
Right. So you played a long time after George.
Yeah, yeah.
So George and his workmates also used to go to both Bramall Lane and Hillsborough each week. But eventually George and some of the others decided that United was the only team for them.
He was doing ever so well till then.
Yeah. If you notice, that's Hillsborough on the left, and that's Alfringstead at Bramall Lane on the right. As George's children grew up, he made sure that United was the team for them. And they all had season tickets at one time or another. And that's roughly the United team about the time that he started to first go.
Jimmy Hagan.
Jimmy Hagan, Harry Latham, Fred Furness,
Great.
Harold
Is
Harry
that very
Latham.
young Joe Shaw?
Very young Joe Shaw, yes, on the back.
Harry Latham.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack White in goal. He was apparently a top goalkeeper.
She was with us now.
Was it Fred White? Was it Fred White, not Jack White? Was it Fred White?
Fred White
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
Colin Collinridge is there. Harold Brook.
Yeah.
And so I don't know the others. So on we move. So United's games against Spurs will always provide divided loyalties for George. He will be rooting for the Blades, but always remember that Spurs were his first love, and one day he might well have played for them. And that's George and Doris.
Mm,
And that's George's story.
Very
very
good, Keith.
good.
Excellent.
Very interesting.
Excellent.
Very good.
Hold on.
I've got to find out how to get rid of this screen share now.
Just click it again.
Click off your PowerPoint to start with, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Yep.
Very good, Keith. Excellent.
Very good, that.
Okay.
Very interesting.
We like that, didn't we? Yeah.
Was that a PowerPoint, Keith?
That was PowerPoint, yeah. So, I hope that told you a bit about Sue's dad. He's a stubborn old bugger.
Aren't we all?
Thank you.
No, and it just shows that, despite horrendous injury, he's still with us at 95.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Is he looking forward to his injection, Keith?
I think he is, to be honest. He don't get out much, so it's a bit of a journey for him.
Yeah. I have mine tomorrow.
Look,
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tomorrow, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
How's
our
his
share
condition
last
now, Keith, following his wartime injuries?
He's not great. He fell over and broke his hip 3 or 4 years ago, and until then, he were all right. A bit unsteady at times, which probably accounted for him falling over. But there's some things he can't, like one of his arms he can't lift above about that high, and the hand that got the shrapnel is got like that part of his hand missing, so he's not very strong in that hand. But he's got a hole in his back, right at the base of his spine. How it missed the nerves and anything important is a miracle.
Mm.
Also got a piece out of one of his shoulders just here. So it's phenomenal. If ever he's had to go to the hospital, the doctors always call in the apprentices to,
Yeah.
because he said, you're not going to see this very often.
yeah.
So, better say he's a good guy. He's always been a smashing bloke. He can be a bit stubborn, and you ask him to do things, and
Unlike yourself.
yeah. So, unlike myself, yeah. So, is there anything to report on the group, John, or are we all right?
Well, I managed to get hold of Barry yesterday for the first time in a week and a half, and he'd had a fall. He goes walking every day, Barry. He lives at Intake, goes walking up round Manatop, down to Ridgeway Road, etc. And he got within 5 minutes of home, beginning of last week, and slipped on black ice.
Yeah.
Before he knew it, he didn't realise what had happened. He came round, and fortunately there were two blokes nearby. He'd cracked his head and his ribs. They're not actually cracked. He suffered a blow to his ribs. So he finished up in A&E for over 4 hours, and then his son took him home where he'd been for a few days, and he'd just come back home in the last sort of 48 hours. So he's still got a badly bruised eye and very sore ribs, but he's in very good humour and he's recovering. He's doing okay.
That's good.
And Eric's missus went to Ashgate last week, Ashgate Hospital, for some pain management because of her cancer. And I'll be contacting them later on this afternoon. But no other significant news to report.
Does Glenn come out today?
He should be coming out today, yes. I mean, yeah, I said no other significant news. Of course, Glenn went in, about a week and a half ago, a couple of weeks ago, with COVID, was on oxygen for a few days and looking a bit grim. But then he gradually battled back until yesterday he was just on 1% oxygen. I mean, if any of us could survive on 1% oxygen, we'd be like androids, wouldn't we? So he's got 1% oxygen. Hoping to be out today or in the next 24 hours. So he's done really well.
You might notice that Big Paul's not with us today. Big Paul wasn't feeling very well yesterday, so he finished up going and having a test for coronavirus. So he's got to stay in, and he should get the results in 2 to 5 days. Now, I've spoken to him this morning, and he says he feels a whole lot better. So it's probably a bit of a false alarm for him. It was better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So, if there's no other news, we might as well start with Lol's News of the Week, and we'll continue in the second half with Lol's News of the Week. So,
News of the week, news of the week, Lol's news of the week, news of the week.
So,
Okay,
if you want to all go back to gallery view, if you've not done so already, then I would suggest that you do that, rather than having Lol's ugly face right in front of you.
Because of your ugly face, Keith.
Sorry, Lol.
It's all right, Keith. I'm used to it.
So take it away, Lol.
Okay, before we get down to the serious bits about sport, I've come across an article this week about Ronnie O'Sullivan. Now, snooker star Ronnie O'Sullivan has revealed why he supports Sheffield Wednesday. Born in Essex, when asked why Sheffield Wednesday is the team that he supports, O'Sullivan replied that he doesn't like getting drawn into conversation about football, so he chose a team like Sheffield Wednesday. As soon as I am asked what team do you support, and I say Sheffield Wednesday, the conversation ends. It's fantastic. Sorry about that, John. That's a song, by the way.
This is like a weekly meeting at United Supporters Club.
Anyway, we'll get
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Quite a lot to talk about on cricket this week. I'm going to go back a little bit to last week when Chris brought it up about Steve Smith scuffing the crease. Now, Australian batsman Steve Smith says he was shocked and disappointed at suggestions that he deliberately scuffed up the crease during the final day of the third test against India. The former captain was seen at the stump camera scraping the crease with his boot during a drinks break. Smith denied accusations he was deliberately removing the marks used to guide India's batsmen at the crease. It's something I do to visualise where we are bowling, Smith said afterwards.
That hammer and chisel were a giveaway.
Smith was then defended by Australian head coach Justin Langer, who said he's 100% innocent. He was just standing on the crease in his own little world, his own little world of Steve Smith.
It's like footballers who scuff penalty spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
The comments by Langer, who I have got immense respect for, what a brilliant player that man was. But that is the sort of comment that got them into all the trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
Mm.
can't be in your own little world. There are protocols and rules and etiquette and discipline, and the Australians showing again that they don't get it. They just don't get it.
They've
You know,
got a-
He was shadow batting left-handed. Okay? Well,
Yeah.
he hasn't got to bat again in the game, so there's no reason to do it because he's not batting again. But he's doing it left-handed. Just so happened that the guy on strike coming back from his drink of water is left-handed. He was getting rid of the guard in the hope that it would either spoil his concentration, he'd forget to re-guard, there would be a moment, you know, it only needs a little bit of something when you're defending. Keith Jackson, best defender of a cricket ball ever for Retford. It only takes a break in concentration or a minor mistake and you're out. And Australia go on to win the test, perhaps.
Chris,
This is cheating. This is just cheating, guys. And the more they talk about it, the worse it gets. Have you seen the Indian batsman Rohit in this match? Because what he does, he goes into the crease while Smith is batting at the other end. And guess what he does? No, he stands there and shadow bats. It's hilarious.
Chris,
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
there's two sides to the story, and I will come back to your side in a minute.
Well,
But the pro Smith guys, and he has some weird quirks and what have you. In which case, why was he ever picked as captain? And the other side is, it's not quirks, he's doing it deliberately. In which case, why did they ever pick him as captain?
the game, the point at which he did it was when the Indians have literally dug in for the draw. They're playing for the draw. They're playing for
They
their
got it.
careers, right? And there's great merit in the draw, great merit in the skill and the determination to get a draw. What they decided to do was anything to disrupt the rhythm of that, to break concentration, etc. For example, in my little world, my little batting world, I never took a drink at a drinks interval in my entire career. Not once. Because I stayed in the crease, concentrating. Because how many times do you see a cricket match where there's a wicket immediately after a drinks interval? It happens hundreds of times a year, everywhere.
In football as well.
So, you can't be in a little world and break the rules or the etiquette of the game. That's why they went wrong with the sandpaper.
You can if you're Australian. You can if you're Australian.
It's so sad. They're such a great nation. They're such a great nation. They're such a brilliant set of people.
Hang on. Learn your history. Learn your history, Chris. Learn your history, Chris. Where did the main population of Australia come from?
Liverpool.
They came from us.
Let me stop you there. We're less than a minute, so this half, I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Yeah, look what you started there, lol.
I'm sorry.